Hello, I'm Denton Davidson, senior editor for Gold Derby. Justin Noble is the co-creator, co-executive producer, and co-writer of The Sex Lives of College Girls on HBO Max. It's about four 18-year-old freshman roommates at the fictional Essex College and explores hormones, contradictions, sexually active college girls. This show's so funny, but it also has real depth to it. You created it with Mindy Kaling. What did the two of you talk about, and what did you want to portray with this series?
Well, Mindy and I met together on Never Have I Ever, where we worked before this. And both of us kind of, I think, have the same ethos towards comedy, which is just like cracking a story where there's characters that have a lot of heart and a community together, and then just filling it with as many jokes as we can fit. We both come from that like network comedy mold, with Mindy from the Mindy Project and The Office, of course. And then I did 6 years of Brooklyn Nine-Nine, which was like a very joke dense show as well. And we just like making easy, fun stories that people can laugh at, like comedies that have comedy, which is the type of comedy that I remember and love.
Talk about how you walk that line also of being sex positive, showing women as sexual. There's a lot of sexual activity, but there's also talk about assault and consent. So how do you walk that line and show it in a funny yet meaningful way?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, so like I am a borderline stereotypical gay man writer whose like friend group has always been the funniest women I can find in high school, college, and beyond. So like this show was very fun for me to get into creatively because I basically got to hire writers who would then like resemble the friend groups that I would talk to at brunch, and it was like hearing all of their stories about their sexual exploits in college would fuel the stories that we tell on this show. So the most fun part of my day is like when we're in the writer's room and it sort of becomes a borderline sex therapy session where someone will come back and be like, I can't believe I'm going to tell this story, but my sophomore year, this thing happened. And then they're just like telling you this like very intense, funny sex story of awkwardness and this like trying time in our lives when we're figuring ourselves out. And everyone else is just like politely nodding along. There's like a writer's assistant writing a note card that has like something horrific on it. And you're just like, okay, I think we got that down. That's horribly embarrassing. And perhaps that's good for Kimberly or Bella. And we just give it to our characters and tweak it from there. But in terms of what you were saying about making sure we hit like issues, Mindy and I are like really big on research. One of the other fun things we did on this show is we did a research trip to go to colleges and talk to actual students about issues that they're dealing with, both light and heavy. And that ended up being like such a fantastic and like wonderful learning experience to hear what 20-year-olds and 21 and 22-year-olds are dealing with right now, and making sure that we could create a show that would resonate for them.
What was the casting process like? Because the four leads are fantastic. Aaliyah, Amrit, Pauline, and Renee. So they sort of run the show, and then their parents are hilarious as well, supporting roles. But where did you get those four, and just how did you decide on those?
I mean, casting is the best writing is the trick. I think like, if we can just spend as much time casting as possible and finding every little diamond we can, that's it makes all of our lives on the producer and writing side so much easier because they're so incredibly talented. So with us, we kind of had a lucky situation. It was one of the few things that came out nicely from COVID, which was that we were in a holding pattern for our show. We couldn't start filming, and so that allowed us to kind of just keep casting. And so we just kept looking and looking and looking and just putting people in our pocket a little bit, but not quite putting any ink to paper yet. And then finding the group that we thought would cohesively represent the best, soup for the show. Everyone was a little ingredient that we wanted to mix together. So we really just took our time and kind of played chemists, and it worked out. And it was so fun to then watch, like send them off into the world they had never met before in person. And then on the first day when we're like, making sure that we like their hair and their makeup and their outfits, it was like watching four best friends who already had this camaraderie between them, which was so like kind of moving. And in fact, like it made for the biggest note I would give all season was like, remember you just met. Like you were like names on a piece of paper that got sent to you in the mail. I'm showing my age. I'm like in my mid 30s. I think everything probably comes electronically now, but you're not like already best friends. Like we have to like build to that a little bit, but they were off and running there. So it was very fun and cute to see.
I mentioned some veteran actors play the parents, and I love that table scene in the parents visit episode. I know that's one that you wrote. Can we talk about just that? What led to you thinking about that scene? Because everyone's together, all the kids, all the parents. It's so funny. I especially love Sherry Shepherd and Rob Hubel and their interaction. Talk about what led to that idea and writing that episode.
Yeah, so Mindy and I co-wrote that episode, and that was we co-wrote, the pilot and that together. And it was something that we had in from the pitch because we felt like the story of the show is like, we don't get to see a lot of college shows, but it's a real transformative time. And it's hard to show a transformation story when you're inside a character's head, especially if they've been launched into a new world where no one knew who they were before. So the parents are kind of in a very unique position to be able to check in with them and clock how they've changed over these first, 2.5 months of college. So we thought that would be a great way to like kind of show that this person has moved in this way. We have like eyes who know them better than these people who they've just lived with, who can voice about things that they've gone through and what they're witnessing. And then it was just so fun to watch this very young cast who was like, learning TV for the first time, mostly interacting with these like industry veterans. And it was so fun. Like at lunch, they would come up to me and be like, I just love watching Sherry. I'm learning so much from seeing how Rob handles things. And it was like a fun little intergenerational day, or actually 3 days at a restaurant in the Valley. We had a great time.
And the show doesn't hold back. It's bold, it's progressive. There's a naked party. There's a lot of sex. I mean, it's right in the title. Did you face a lot of pushback in trying to get this made, or was it pretty seamless?
Actually, no. The partnerships with Warner Brothers and HBO Max have been incredible. Like, I think every step of the way, it felt like we were just being kind of championed and that they loved the creative and they were pushing us along to the point where sometimes I would get off the phone and be like, I wish they had a couple notes. I'm feeling worried, that they're not giving us all the attention. But it's nice to know that they believed in it, and they definitely pushed along that ethos we were talking about of being sex positive. Like that is a movement that we both feel strongly about, and it was something that they got fully behind. We had no pushback. If anything, sometimes they pushed us further. And then Mindy and I, who were like a little prudish at times, would be like, oh, that's too far. Like there was a early cut of the Naked Party episode that had so much nudity. And we were still, it's a season 1. We're trying to find what the show is tonally. And we were like, this is just like jarring. We can't have it be this. And so we opted for a more tamed down version, if you can believe it.
What's the most difficult thing, in your opinion, for a comedy to become successful?
I mean, the biggest thing for me, I would say, is like there's so much of comedy that comes out of like a writer's room and how the writers in the room speak and pitch for the characters. And then there's the real jump is the passing that off to a cast and then hoping that it translates in a way where it's going to work for that character. It's going to feel believable both to the performer and to the character that we've established. And sometimes you never know. But that's just a unique thing that I've experienced my entire career with comedy. I remember like on an episode of Brooklyn Nine-Nine once we like broke an episode where Terry Crews was like having a grumpy day and being like super sarcastic. And it was like a shade on him we had never seen before. And we wrote it and brought it to table. And then we were like, this is feeling rough. This is like, it just doesn't, like some things just like don't work and you have to see them on their feet and change. So, I mean, I'm that comedy writer who'll say it, which is that I think we have to do all the work that a drama does. And then we have to stay till 11 to just make sure it has as many jokes as we can fit in there as well. But yeah, we're just joke people. We really like making comedy that makes people laugh.
Well, Justin, congratulations on The Sex Life of College Girls. It's streaming on HBO Max, and best of luck to you and the entire cast and crew at this year's Emmys. Thank you for spending some time with Gold Derby today.
Thanks so much, Den. Bye.